So today we are going to discuss the histology of the placenta. Before we discuss the histology of the placenta, you must review the embryological aspect of the placenta. Then and then you can understand the histology of the placenta very well. Now this is something regarding the embryological aspect of the placenta. The placenta is acting something like you can call the ventilator system for the fetus, and that is produced by the two units, one that is from the mother and another that is from the fetal aspect. So chorionic plate, here you can see the chorionic plate that is from the fetal aspect, that is going to form the part of the placenta, and this is the decidua basalis. This segment comes from the maternal aspect. So this both the segments interwoven by each other, and that is going to form the whole placenta. Okay, you can see this is the chorionic plate that is sending the tree-like structures towards the decidua basalis, tree-like structure towards the decidua basalis, and this is known as the chorionic villi. Okay, so the chorionic villi, they are arising from the chorionic plate of the fetal aspect. Now the placenta is connected to the fetus via the umbilical cord. Here you can see the umbilical cord is there, and that is containing the umbilical arteries as well as the umbilical veins. Now from this umbilical arteries and umbilical veins, there is the subdivisions or the branches arising, and that is traveling through the stem of this chorionic villi. Okay, and that is known as the fetal blood vessels. Okay, so that is the fetal blood vessels. Now in between this chorionic villi there is a gap, and that is known as the intervillous space, which is containing the maternal blood, and this maternal blood that is coming here into the intervillous space via this artery that is known as the spiral artery. Okay, you can see the spiral artery here, and this whole blood will go into the here after circulating through this intervillous space to the this area that is known as the spiral vein. Okay, now the decidua basalis, that is also sending the septa towards the fetal aspect, but that is incomplete. Okay, you can see the septa, but that is incomplete in nature. So ultimately what happens, this whole placenta is divided into the lobes, and that each and every lobe, approximately the number of lobes, that is 50 to 20 in number, that is known as the cotyledon. So to define the cotyledon, there is a branches of one main villous stem covered with the decidua basalis. This is the definition of the cotyledon. Okay, so this is something regarding the embryological aspect of the placenta. Now we are actually moving towards the histological aspect of the placenta, and placenta again having the two phases. We have to study the histology of the placenta in two phases, one at the full term of the pregnancy and one at the early time of the pregnancy. Okay, first we will discuss the placenta at the time of the early pregnancy. Okay, so in this figure, in this schematic figure, you can see the number 1, that is the chorionic villi. Here this is the chorionic villi. Okay, that is surrounded by this space that is known as the intervillous space. So you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 as well as the 5 chorionic villi in this schematic diagram. Now this chorionic villi in the time of the early pregnancy, that is made up of the two cell lines. Double cell line is there. Most outer cell line, that is known as the syncytiotrophoblasts. Okay, most outer cell line you can see here, that is made up of the syncytiotrophoblasts, and that the characteristic of these cells or the layer, that is of the multinucleated cytoplasm, is seen with ill-defined cell margins. Still inner to this syncytiotrophoblasts you will find another layer of the cuboidal cells, and that is known as the cytotrophoblast. So inner layer of this chorionic villi, that is made up of the cytotrophoblast, this layer is absent. This cytotrophoblast inner cuboidal layer is absent when the placenta attain the full term phase. Okay, so remember this cytotrophoblastic inner cuboidal layer that is absent when the placenta enters into the full term phase. Okay, now within this chorionic villi you can find the, in the core of this chorionic villi, the fetal blood vessels, okay, which is containing the fetal blood. Now this fetal blood vessels, they are surrounded by the connective tissue that is known as the extra embryonic mesoderm. So to be specific, this is surrounded by the extra embryonic somatopleuric mesoderm. Okay, the fetal blood vessel that is surrounded here in this area by the extra embryonic somatopleuric mesoderm. Okay, so that is the something regarding the chorionic villi. Now outer to this chorionic villi, again you will find the space, this much space that is containing the maternal blood, and this is the space that is known as the intervillous space. Okay, so maternal blood here and fetal blood here within the fetal blood vessels, and there is a continuous exchange of the nutrients as well as the waste products as well as the hormones between these two blood stream. But still there is one barrier that is separating this fetal blood from the maternal blood, and that barrier is termed as the placental barrier. This barrier is somewhat thick in the early pregnancy and thin in the late pregnancy or in the full term. So in the early pregnancy, this placental barrier is made up of the 6 layer, and the thickness of this barrier is approximately 0.025 millimeter. Okay, you can see this square here. So this is representing the placental barrier here. So if we consider the structures that is forming the placental barrier here from inward to the outward aspect. Okay, so first layer, that is the fetal capillary, particularly the endothelium of the fetal capillary. Then there is a basal lamina of the fetal capillaries, and then there is a connective tissue, extra embryonic somatopleuric mesoderm connective tissue is there. After the connective tissue you will find the layer of the cytotrophoblast. Okay, this is the layer of the cytotrophoblast, and still outer you will find the next layer that is made up of the syncytiotrophoblasts. And okay, so this is the layers from fetal blood to the maternal blood that is forming the placental barrier. Now we are moving towards the placenta in the full term. So this is the schematic diagram showing the structural aspect of the placenta near the term. Particularly you can say the third trimester of the pregnancy. The striking features you will mark in this diagram, that there is absence of this cytotrophoblastic cell layer, which is of the inner cuboidal type of the cell line is here. So you must remember that this cytotrophoblastic layer is absent in the full term placenta. Again, same chorionic villi you can see here. Okay, so you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well as the 7 chorionic villi are there, and this chorionic villi that is only made up of the single cell line that is known as the syncytiotrophoblasts. They are the cell line that is secreting the estrogen as well as the progesterone as well as the human chorionic gonadotropin hormones, okay, for the development of the fetus during the pregnancy. And in the center core of this chorionic villi you will find this fetal blood vessel that is containing the fetal blood, okay, that is also surrounded by the extra embryonic somatopluric mesoderm. In between this villi you can find the intervillous space that is containing the maternal blood. Still, here in the full term period of the placenta we have a barrier, placental barrier, okay, that is separating the fetal blood flow from the maternal blood flow, but this barrier is somewhat thin and only made up of the 3 layer as compared to the 6 layer at the early pregnancy, and the thickness is approximately 0.002 millimeter, okay, in size. And the structures they are forming the placental barrier at the term, you can say this is the endothelium of the fetal blood vessels, okay, then the basal lamina of the fetal blood capillaries, okay, and here you can see that the fetal blood vessel that is lying in close relation with the syncytiotrophoblastic layer, okay, so there is the closeness of the fetal blood vessel as far as the placenta in the phase of the full term period, okay. So here is the closeness of the fetal blood vessel as far as the syncytiotrophoblastic cell layer of the chorionic villi is concerned, okay. So this is the placental barrier having the 3 layers. Thank you very much.